Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, it's a pretty interesting one. The topic is, do the Clippers have a major point guard problem? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, I want to thank you. I want to thank the people who signed up to the Dreamerspro Max platform. We had a lot of fun last night chatting. Also, another thing I know some of you guys express is like, hey man, listen, I don't know what this thing is. Like, what if you give us some like a free trial or something like that? And we listen to you, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So what we decided to do is, for anybody who's interested in it, you get 7 days of free access. So you can go in and sign up. You can cancel anytime, so you get 7 days of free access to check it out, see what it's all about. If you don't like it, you can cancel. If you do, you can just stay on. So for those of you guys who are curious, you won't be charged or anything, so just go ahead and check it out. There's a 7-day free access. It's linked in the description below. So hopefully that helps some people kind of feel more at ease. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So I watched the game last night, and we were chatting about it, but at the end of the game, I kind of had some thoughts of my own. So let me just get into them here. So I know one of the major areas of contention for the Clippers have been their point guard position. That's been the key thing that a lot of analysts have spoken about, like Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, I think Max Kellerman to some extent, and others, right? That's been one of the main things that a lot of people have kind of been focusing on. And just after last night's game, I really started to, I began to focus on, just after last night's game, I started to pay attention to it, because all through the regular season, I've been focused on other things, right? I've been focused more on their bad execution in the clutch moments of games. If you don't have to go too far back, just to go 2 games prior, when they were playing against the Milwaukee Bucks, they were up, I think it was 100-96. And I think for the final, maybe the final 4 or 3 minutes or so, Clippers couldn't score. They could not score and get a clean look at the not a clean look. They just couldn't execute down the stretch, and the Bucks just went up there, tied the game, and ultimately won it. I think they missed 7 straight field goals. It was a combination of bad shots and guys just not hitting their shots, right? They just couldn't score, and they couldn't execute late in that game. Another thing I've been focused on is my favorite player in the world, Kawhi Leonard, being one of the worst players in clutch moments as far as field goal percentage. I was listening to Chris Broussard and Rob Parker last night, and they said I think he's probably the 3rd worst. I think he's like shooting 28% in clutch moments. Now, to me, that's a bit of an aberration, because it's not something that you normally see from Kawhi Leonard. He's not such a subpar player in clutch moments. There's no way you can be that bad and have the highest winning percentage of any basketball player that ever lived, right? So certain things seem to be like an aberration. He's never been this bad, like if you look historically. So something seems to be a little bit off. Another thing I've been focused on is the fact that Paul George has been up or down. In certain points in the season, you see him go for 36 points, hit 8 out of 9 threes. And another point in the season, you see him go for 17 points, right? He's kind of been up and down. Last night, watching that game, I remember during the chat, I said Paul George might need to go for 40 tonight to give the Clippers a chance, because I think in the second quarter, Marcus Morris Sr., who's a very important piece for the team, he went out with a concussion, and I was like, wow. And right before tip-off, I found out that Kawhi wasn't playing. I was like, what? He's not playing. They said he was warming up, and all of a sudden, he wasn't on the floor, and then come to find out, he was having back spasms, so he was out. So that's why I said, okay, Paul George needed to step up. And to be fair to the guy, he did. He tried. He was taking a lot of shots. I don't fault a guy for shooting a lot. I don't fault you, because I'm looking at your aggressiveness. I saw him trying to get to the basket a lot. Sometimes you got the benefit of the doubt with the referees blowing the whistle. Sometimes they didn't. But late in that game, I saw that, he kind of rushed some shots. I listened to the coach after the game. He said, listen, I thought we rushed some shots. I think he was referring to Paul George. He's like, if you didn't have anything in that particular play, he said we have 2 secondary plays that you can go to after that, and they didn't go to the secondary options. So that was something that they didn't like, and you can see that Paul George is a little bit bothered by the fact that, listen, they missed some shots, he missed some close shots, and obviously it affects people because there's a noise outside, but also it's something that Brad Stevens, who's the head coach of the Boston Celtics, spoke about. Like, listen, we know we're not playing up to the level that most people expect us to play for, but at the same time, you have to kind of keep things insulated and to try to block out the outside noise. And that's tough. You know, it's tough because at the same time, you want to listen to what your critics are saying to understand where you need to improve. You just don't want to, you know, completely shun the outside world. But at the same time, you don't want to let that kind of stuff affect you. And maybe that played a role because at the end of the day, these guys are human beings. It's not like as if these guys are robots. So maybe those were the things I was kind of paying attention to. But then I started looking at their point guard position, and now I'm seeing a major issue that they have with the point guards is not what Nick Wright is talking about. I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Okay, here are the current point guards on the Clippers roster. They currently have Lou Williams, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, and Patrick Beverley. First thing is, the Clippers have too many point guards. They have 4 point guards. Think about this. This team has 4 point guards, but they only have 2 centers. Why would you have 4 point guards and 2 centers, number one? If you look at the center position, Serge is solid. I think Serge Ibaka, I had his numbers up here a second ago. Serge Ibaka is averaging 11.4 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. Those are pretty solid stats from Serge. He's only playing 24 minutes a game, so it's not like as if Serge is only playing literally half the game. He's not playing a lot of minutes. He's shooting 50% from the field, 36% from the three, and he's shooting 82% from the free throw line, right? Ivica Zubac is the second guy, but he's not as polished as Serge, although Serge is not a great, he's not a great offensive player. He's not like a Montrezl Harrell when you can just come in and start getting buckets all over the place. That's not his thing. He's more shot block. He's a little bit more steady. He stretches the floor. He does other things. But the Clippers have 4 point guards and only 2 bigs, right? And not even a power forward that can kind of play the center position. I know sometimes they try to get Marcus Morris Sr. to do that at times, but you would think that they would have at least another power forward, another 6'10", 6'11" guy, but they don't have that. Now, here's some of the things about these point guards you need to pay attention to. I think Patrick Beverley, here are my thoughts. I think Patrick Beverley should be the backup point guard and come off the bench. Here's why. Patrick Beverley is a great player defensively. He plays a lot of energy. Last night you saw him guarding Jason Tatum, switching off of guys. I mean, he's all over the floor. He's like a dynamo, right? He's like the Energizer Bunny on the floor, which I love about him. But Patrick Beverley is not a great playmaking point guard. That's just the reality. He's not really good at getting guys and hitting guys in their spots. So I think Patrick Beverley, if you have him as a defensive wizard that comes off the bench, can hit threes, I think that would be good. I think I would probably trade Lou Williams and Reggie Jackson. That's what I think I would do, and try to get a point guard that can score, defend, and is not injury prone. That's the thing about Patrick Beverley also. He tends to be injury prone. Although he can be great in stretches, he's injury prone. Lou Williams is great offensively, but he doesn't play defense. And last night, you saw that they constantly have to do this thing with Lou Williams where you're constantly subbing him in, subbing him out. That's not good. If you look at the Lakers with Dennis Schroeder, you don't have that issue because Dennis Schroeder can score, he can play defense. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he can score, he can play defense, and he can facilitate the offense, he can play make. So in that sense, the Lakers have a better point guard. The Clippers need something like that. Reggie Jackson, although he can score, he does pretty much the same thing that Lou Williams does, and he can play a little bit better defense. He can stay in front of his guys a little bit better. I saw him try to do that last night. If you look at Terrence Mann plays D. He brings a lot of energy. He has some moderate decision making, but he's not going to shoot. He's not going to get you buckets. I don't think his confidence is there, and I think that's the issue with the Clippers. They have way too many point guards. They need to, if they can package up at least 3 of them and get one solid point guard that can play defense, score, hit open threes, and it's most importantly a great decision maker and late game player, I think they can solve a lot of issues that they have at that position. They have too many point guards. What are they doing with 4 different point guards? And I don't know, this obviously didn't happen now. These were decisions that were made years ago for them to now end up with 4 point guards on this team. But I think they have too many guards on this team, to be quite honest with you, and too many guys that do pretty much the same thing. I think they do, like, it's 2 point guard heavy, and all of these guys are just, they're not perfect. One guy can score, the other guy can't. That same guy can't play defense. You have another guy that can play defense, but he can't really score and he can't really run an offense. And that's something that they need to look at. I know the trade deadline is coming up pretty soon. Who knows? They may make a move. Some people spoke about Kyle Lowry. I don't know. Again, I don't know how they're going to be able to do it because of his contract. Some people are possibly even talking about trading Paul George. Paul George has a super max contract. So it's not just like, okay, trade Paul George, number one, for who? And number two, how are you going to match that contract? That's another thing that's worth paying attention to. But for me right now, I think the Clippers are 2 point guard heavy, and that's what I currently think about this team. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about this issue that they have with the point guard, and who would you possibly who would you go out there and get to kind of replace these guys and to make sure that they're solid at that position? So whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoy the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day, and catch you guys on the next episode.